Good morning, everyone. This is just a quick word. I guess this is a piece of advice, but something I want to tell you about the way that I give advice. There are two things I need to tell you up front. And this is true for almost any piece of advice that I may give. The first thing is that I do not give unasked for advice, generally speaking. The second thing is when I do give advice, it's not because of any one, it's almost never because of any one person. It's almost always because I saw 10 people or more do something, and then 5 people actually came to me and asked about it. And then I'm just like, okay, I need to maybe put something out there so that I don't have to keep recreating these conversations, right? So I just need you to know those two things up front, right? Like there's no backstory, there's no drama, there's nothing like that. I don't do that, right? So this is just advice. And maybe if I did this 100 times, you would understand that that's not what that is, all right? So this is just straight up advice. And this is for artists. And I use artists like I normally use artists, which is a general term, right? So writers, musicians, dancers, actors, visual artists, sculptors, whatever. Because it's true for all y'all. Or at least all of y'all who wish to put your work into public space. Not get paid, not sell, not get a job in the arts. I mean, it may apply to them as well. But I'm just saying, if you wish to put your art into the world, okay? So if you create a thing and you want somebody else to see it, whatever that means for you in your world, all right? Something I need you to, I would like for you to consider is the concept of bandwidth. You need to develop your audience, right? Like that's just kind of a given, and that sounds very rote and elementary. But it bears repeating every conversation that we have about putting your art into the world. Because developing an audience is your job. If that's what you're trying to do, right? If you're trying to put art into the world, that's your job. Art is your first job, and then your second job is to find and develop audience for that, right? That is also the job of, let's say, a venue who puts your art out there, a concert hall who books you, or that whatever. That's your manager's job, your agent's job, whatever. But to make sure that, what you're doing is finding and developing audience, right? That is also part of your job. I would say 90% of people who create things, that is your second job. There is no one else doing that for you. Okay? Now here's the thing to bear in mind, okay? And trust me, the people that I work with get that for the most part. And so I don't usually have a problem with that. So please understand that this is not about anybody I work with. So the thing I want you to consider about bandwidth is that an audience for a thing only has so much that they afford you and or what you do. So either you specifically in what you do or art in general, right? They may only have so much bandwidth in a given day. I like to use a day measure because I feel like it resets, right? So in any given day, they have so much bandwidth for what you do or have to say or whatever. And so bear in mind that if you have something that you want people to listen to or to read or to look at or to come see and pay for tickets, right? To buy tickets to see. Just understand that they have afforded, whatever the bandwidth is for them or, about you and what you do in a given day. And so every time you post, you are chipping away at that bandwidth. You chip away at it. So I'll give you an example of how it works for me, okay? So now I have my own personal art and things that I do. And then I have Streetlight Guild, right? Now, those are two separate bandwidths. Streetlight Guild has an audience, and I have an audience. And my audience is larger than Streetlight Guild's, which that should be true, right? Because I've been doing things for decades at this point. And Streetlight Guild, you know, as a venue is only like 3 years old. And so it's really important to try to develop Streetlight Guild's audience and expand its bandwidth ability on its own terms, right? So every time Streetlight Guild posts, I shouldn't be posting too. Like me posting probably helps Streetlight Guild, but here's the thing. Streetlight Guild bandwidth eats away at my bandwidth. So people will be less inclined to look at what I'm saying and doing if half of the day's posts are Streetlight Guild things. You understand? And so while I, with a larger audience, with further reach, like my audience is not local. My audience is not regional. My audience is national. And there are people who are accessing, you know, what I'm posting and saying and doing who are never going to come to Streetlight Guild, who are never going to come to Columbus, who will never see half of the things that, you know, I post. And that's important, right? Because now Streetlight Guild is eating at my bandwidth. Every time I post something that's happening at Streetlight Guild, that's eating away at the bandwidth that people have set aside for me and what I do specifically. People who signed up for me, right? So that's just an example. I'm not complaining or anything, because that's been my reality for 15 years in one capacity or another, right? It was, you know, Writer's Block, it was Streetlight Guild, it was this, it was that. You know, my bandwidth gets chipped at forever. And that's how it happens when you work in the interest of other people, when you work in the interest of community, right? You know that going in, like, okay, I'm going to have to expend some energy here, some focus here, some sacrifice here. You want to know how many poems that has cost me? Hundreds of poems were not written because of that work. And I do that work gladly, but I know what it costs. And so it becomes really important, to get back to the original point, it becomes exceedingly important that artists develop their audience. Do not leave that up to the venue. Do not leave that up to a promoter. Do not leave that up to an organizer. Do not leave that up to your friends. It is your second job. I know you know this, but I need you to know it from me, that that's legit, right? The reason why my audience is largely national is because that was my second job. I wrote things and then I developed audience. And that bandwidth is important. I'm using that bandwidth right now. Right now I'm using that bandwidth. Right? Everything you put into the world is a piece of that bandwidth. You only get so much per day. You only get so much per day. That's why sometimes I got to tap out. I got to tap out for a day or two to let y'all reset. Not me. I'm still working. I'm still doing things. I'm still moving. Right? Y'all couldn't handle all the stuff that I do every day. Like, it would drive y'all nuts. Y'all be like, this dude, I love this dude, but this dude is always on this, like, y'all wouldn't even know. Y'all be mad. There have been times in the past where I did it. I would hit y'all every day. Boom, I'm doing this. And then people would be like, yo, you post a lot. I'm like, word? I do a lot. My life is large. So, you know, I try to help y'all out. I try to manage the bandwidth, right? And so anyhow, I just wanted to put that out there for y'all real quick. I got to go to work. Third job. So everybody, be safe. Have a good day. Develop your audience, not your brand. Oh, I got to add this PS. Yo, this is exceedingly important. I can't believe I even opened this can of worms. Your audience, developing your audience is not developing your brand. I do not like the concept of brand. I understand that it is generally a necessity to consider, like your brand, how is the name of X put into the world and perceived, and what value does it contain, right? That's not developing your audience. That's some ego shit, right? That's just you kind of working on what makes you, whatever you think is dope and whatever you think people will think is dope. That's just you generating content, which is another horrible thing. Generating content. A matter of fact, I've just taken to calling it what it is. Like somebody be like, oh, did you see such and such's thing about, the thing that they working on? But no, I saw them create some content. I ain't see no work. So, So, brand is not developing audience. By the time I start developing audience, I've already built the brand. Whatever the thing is. So it has branding, right? It has a name. It has a theme. It has values. It has a determined success. I have all this math that I have applied to the brand of the thing, and then I present the thing to my audience. And I develop it. I develop the audience. You understand the difference? I could do more on that, but I'm already late for work, all right? So I just wanted to throw that one on the pile, okay? Hey, be safe out here. Build good things. Build dope things. Build is the operative word here. Not be dope things. Not act like dope things. Not present like I am dope things. Build dope things. Just create harder. That's what it's about. Be original. Create harder. Build dope things. All right? I love y'all. Thank you. Good morning.